Light in the dark. It was dark, and the stars were sparkling in the Mecca sky like scattered gems. Muhammad sat in the cave of Hira, the cold of the desert night penetrating his skin. He sought nothing but silence, away from the noise of the city. He often came here, thinking about life, about the injustices that abounded where the rich trampled the poor, where widows wept for their children without a place to go. One night, as his mind sank into deep meditation, a voice called out, "Read." Muhammad was startled, his heart pounding. He looked around, seeing only vast darkness. "I cannot read," he stammered. The call rang out again, stronger. "Read. In the name of your Lord, who created man from a clot of blood." His chest felt as if it were being squeezed, and Muhammad felt something great was falling. He trembled as he walked out of the cave, a strange feeling taking over him. When he returned home, he said to his wife, "Khadija, I am afraid." She hugged him tightly, her voice warm, that Allah will not let you come to harm. He knows that you are sincere, always helping the weak, supporting the needy. Thus came the first words of the Quran, a revelation that changed the destiny of mankind. Muhammad was not a king, not a rabbi, not even a dreamer. He was just a poor shepherd, but now his mission was to lead the world out of darkness. The first steps. Rumors spread quickly throughout Mecca that Muhammad had received something from heaven. The skeptics scoffed, "He is crazy. It is just a desert hallucination." But the poor, the oppressed slaves, they listened. They saw in his words a different light, not the promise of wealth, but liberation from the shackles of greed and violence. Abu Bakr, Muhammad's closest friend, was one of the first to believe. He was a wealthy merchant, but his heart was never close to the cries of orphans. When Muhammad told him about the revelation, Abu Bakr asked only one question, "Are you sincere?" Muhammad looked straight into his friend's eyes. "I have never lied." Abu Bakr took his hand. "That's enough. I will go with you." But not everyone accepted it easily. The powerful people of Mecca were afraid. They lived on exploitation, on the temples full of idols they traded. If Muhammad said that there was only one God, if he called for justice, what would be left for them? One day, the poor man came to Muhammad, his eyes red. "They beat me just because I listened to you. My wife is hungry, my children are thirsty, is it worth it?" Muhammad put his hand on his shoulder, his voice deep. "Allah knows your pain. He promises that today's tears will become the rivers of paradise tomorrow." Challenges and perseverance. The pressure was growing. The opponents tried every way to stop Muhammad. They enticed, "If you abandon this teaching, I will give you gold, silver, power." Muhammad shook his head. "Even if you put the sun in my right hand, the moon in my left hand, I will not abandon it." They turned to threats, "You will die like those madmen before." But he remained upright, undaunted. When they could not move Muhammad, they turned to his followers. The weak became the targets, slaves were tortured, women were starved, children were stoned. A boy named Omar was captured, his parents died of exhaustion in the desert heat. The enemy tied him up on the hot sand, asking, "Will you abandon Muhammad?" Omar cried, but still whispered, "No. Allah is the one." When Muhammad heard the news, he hugged Omar, tears streaming down his face. "Next time they torture you, say what they want, but keep your faith in your heart." Omar looked up. "Is that a lie?" Muhammad smiled sadly. "Allah knows. He knows the boundary between life and faithfulness." The Great Migration. Violence escalated. Muhammad knew that if he remained in Mecca, his followers would be destroyed. He heard of a city to the north, Yathrib, later Medina, where the tribes were looking for a mediator. They needed a fair, impartial voice. One night, Muhammad told his loyal cousin, "Ali, sleep in my bed. If the enemy comes, they will think I am still here." Ali nodded, asking no more questions. Muhammad and Abu Bakr quietly left Mecca, their silhouettes merging into the night. When the enemy discovered him, they offered a large reward for Muhammad's capture. A hunter named Suraka spotted his trail and rode after him, eyes blazing with ambition. But as he drew near, his horse suddenly gave way, throwing Suraka to the ground. A second time, a third time, each time he approached, something strange happened. Finally, Suraka cried out, trembling, "I know you are protected by God. Forgive me." Muhammad turned back, his voice calm, "Go back and tell others that no one can stop me from fulfilling my mission." When he arrived in Medina, the whole city came out to welcome him. The first Muslims, who had endured so much suffering, now cried out in tears, "The man of Allah has come. The light has come." But Muhammad did not stop there. He knew that this was only the beginning of a long journey, a journey that would change the world. Building a community of love. Medina was no longer a divided city. The tribal wars that had lasted for centuries had subsided. Muhammad stood among the people, his voice warm but firm, "We are all brothers. There is no distinction between blood, rich or poor, the color of our skin. Together we are building a society where no one is left behind." His followers began to call each other brothers in faith. Wealthy men like Uthman ibn Affan opened their granaries to distribute food to the poor. Strong warriors like Hamza abandoned their pride, using their strength to protect the weak. But a new challenge arose. The Jews and pagans in the city began to fear Muhammad's influence. Some took advantage of the situation, inciting conflict. He responded not with the sword, but with a constitution, the Charter of Medina, that clearly defined the rights and duties of every community. The Jews are free to worship. The Muslims have a responsibility to protect them. If the city is attacked, everyone stands up. Once, an old Jewish man was seriously ill, and no one cared for him. Muhammad went to his house, personally cooked porridge, and cleaned it. The old man was surprised. "Why did you do that?" "I do not follow your religion." He smiled. "Because you are human. Because God taught me to love everyone." War and peace. Mecca did not give up. They gathered a powerful army and attacked Medina. The Battle of Uhud broke out, and the Muslims were defeated. Hamza, Muhammad's brave uncle, fell. The enemy mutilated his body, shouting victory. In the ambulance tent, Muhammad held Hamza's body, tears streaming down his bloody face. But he did not call for revenge. He told his comrades, "Suffering is not resolved by more suffering. If I use cruelty like them, I will become them." Years later, when the Muslim army was strong enough to conquer Mecca, he commanded, "Do not burn houses. Do not kill innocent people. Whoever enters the house of Abu Sufyan will be safe, though he was my greatest enemy." When he was victorious, Muhammad entered the city with his head bowed. He did not shout threats, but said, "Today is the day of mercy. You are free. I only remind you to give up the worship of stone and wood. Return to the one Creator." The last lessons. As old age approached, Muhammad's health began to fail. In his final sermon, he stood before tens of thousands of people, his voice weak but clear. "O mankind, listen to me, for I do not know whether I will see you again next year. Treat women fairly. We have power over them, but she has power over me. All men are equal, like the teeth of a comb. No one is superior because of blood or skin color. Pay the workers before their sweat dries. I leave two things, the Quran and my way of life. If you cling to them, you will not go astray." A man sobbed, "Is this your last teaching, O Messenger of Allah?" Muhammad nodded, his eyes looking far into the horizon. Blessings to the universe. On the day Muhammad died, the sky over Medina seemed to collapse. Abu Bakr embraced the body, saying through tears, "Whoever worships Muhammad, know that he is dead. Whoever worships Allah, he is eternal." But his legacy did not stop. Just a few decades later, the light of Islam spread from the Arabian desert to Persia, Egypt, Spain. Muslim scholars preserved Greek knowledge, invented algebra, built the first hospital. One night in Cordoba, a boy asked his father, "Why do people call Muhammad a blessing to the universe?" The father smiled, "Because he taught us to live not only for ourselves, but for all mankind. He brought light where there was only darkness." In a remote village, a poor woman rose early, sharing her last piece of bread with a hungry neighbor's child. She whispered, "Bismillah, in the name of Allah." In that moment, Muhammad's words came alive again. Because grace is not a miracle that falls from the sky. Grace is when people choose to love even in the midst of hardship. And humanity still needs that, today, tomorrow, forever.
Phần bình luận đến đây là hết rồi. Xin chào tạm biệt và hẹn gặp lại. Ô ô.